Today, on part 4 of the Tomos Nitro 50 scooter restoration, we're going to be tearing down the top end, taking it all apart, and doing some work to the pieces once we've taken them apart. I'm your host, Chaos Dubs. This is the Chaos Bikes channel. Let's jump right into it. So before we go any further, this is going to be a bit difficult just because of the way I have the light set up and stuff, but essentially, the camshaft has to be in the same position, and the cam chain has to be in exactly the same position as when we take this apart. Otherwise, we're gonna have a bunch of problems. So right now, I want to try to get in here and mark this. Using the trusty scribe. There's a little mark. I don't know how well, if at all, you can see it there. There's a little mark on there. That'll allow us a bit easier reassembly when we get to that point. Next, we're gonna have to take that thing off right here. This guy is the automatic chain tensioner. So that's gonna come off with these bolts on the side here. Once that's off, we're gonna have to take the rockers off up top. I'll end up moving the camera once we get there. There we go. We'll try to be gentle. So you want to recover these gaskets. That is your automatic chain tensioner right there. So back top side, we're going to take off the rockers here, and then that's going to allow us to pull the cam chain off relatively easy. And we got a couple of bolts down here we got to pull out, and then this jug should come off, and then we should be able to take the piston out and replace it. These little parts trays come in handy. They're magnetic, and they're going to do the job of holding all this shit together. Those are really important. You can't lose those. Those help feed oil throughout your system. So there's the rocker assembly. Now, when you're pulling the cam chain off, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to on this one, but I like to put a piece of wire through it. You might just have to go around it. The whole thing is you can't lose the chain inside the engine. That's a bad day. Have the link marked. That's going to be important when we're putting it back together. There we go. So now we can basically tie this chain to something, temporarily anyways, so it does not get lost on us. Now we're going to pull the camshaft out. There's probably a pin in there. There's not. Just bearings. As you can see, the cute little camshaft. Alright, everything else looks alright. Now we just got to get these two 8mm nuts off the bolts, I guess. We should be in business. Hopefully that cam chain doesn't slip off the lower gear. That would suck. but I think it might have already. Four strokes are a massive pain in the ass. And that should be it. Off comes the jug. Perfect. Now we just gotta feed this through there, so we don't want to lose that cam chain. Usually I would never do this while it's in the bike still, but that's apparently how people are doing it. This valve cover's right in the way. So as you can see, we are now down to the jug. Get the head off right here. And we're gonna take this over to the bench and we're gonna do a little bit of work to it. But for now, we gotta get to the meat and potatoes, which is right here. Okay, we're gonna have to feed this wire through one more time. Looks like the auto chain tensioner is coming with. See if that helps getting that gasket off. Oh, there was another one of those guys. There we go, yep. Man, I hate four strokes. And there is our jug. Next, we're gonna pull the piston off, and that's gonna be a real fun job. Okay, so it's gonna be a bit tricky to see. You can see we got the piston here. Now we got a big gap here, the hole into the bottom of the engine case. Because this is a horizontal engine, it makes things a bit easier. But I'm still gonna stick something in here. In this case, an old sock, because I do not want those clips going down into that engine case. It would be a nightmare to remove them. So it's a lot easier to just put something around it. Save yourself the hassle. There's just no room here to work or to see what you're doing. And it's gone. I'm gonna try to just push this out and see if I can just pull the piston off and leave that one in. That way there's no risk of losing that one too. And there we have the hilariously tiny piston. Really doesn't even look all that bad, so I don't know why it has no compression, but that's where we're at. So we've got the old parts over here, the old piston, the old head, the old jug, and of course the circlip that I end up finding. We've got the new parts here. I'm not sure that it comes with circlips yet, but I'm hoping it does in the bottom of the piston. Yes, it looks like it's got a new wrist pin. Some circlips in there, perfect. Those ones are going to be much easier to use as well. These are actually G-clips. You can see that there. And nice little piston. Everything else looks identical on these. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that I want to do to this still, but first I just want to line everything up. Make sure everything's the same. Everything looks exactly the same, so that's perfect. Next, I'm going to go ahead and install the rings onto the piston, and we're going to save that installation for a little bit later. So you got your 2 piston rings, you got your oil ring, and you got your oil ring retainers. So it's always fun trying to put this stuff on, for sure. It's pretty small, so I don't think it'll be too bad. Four strokes are a pain in the ass. Most 2 strokes this size would only have 1 piston ring, not even 2. And this one's got 5 basically. You only want to use your really thin ones as your oil retainer rings. The other thicker ones are going to be your actual piston rings. Alright, that was actually pretty easy because of the size. Just try to line these oil rings up so they're going to close evenly when we try to put them into the cylinder. Oh boy, I've been doing all this work off camera here. Install the other rings. There we go. So we've got the head here, and it looks pretty okay to me. I don't see why we can't reuse it, but it does need to get cleaned up here. So I'm going to pull out the valves, and we're going to do a valve lapping and make sure everything's fitting nice and tight, and making sure that the valves are not part of the problem. This is a valve spring tool kit here. Exactly what we need, I think. We can check that size too, but I reckon that one's going to be too big. Oh, that's actually perfect right there. That's generally not supposed to happen. But there's these little half moon pieces in there that look like that. And there's 2 of them holding each one on. And currently only 1 came out. There we go. Got the other one. And we slowly remove the pressure on that valve. Great. Now, we can pull the valve seal off of there. And just push the valve through. Not so bad, not so bad. Probably leave the seal there. That's great. So I'm going to label this, even though I don't think it's necessary. I will anyways. Intake valve, and that's the exhaust valve. And I'm going to do basically exactly the same thing, except on the other side here. So I'm going to start by using a Dremel and cleaning up this bit of junk we got on here. You have to be careful. You don't want to take any shape away from here, because you're going to add more size to the cylinder, and that's going to throw things off. Okay, we're going to lap the valves in a bit of an unconventional way, but we got some valve lapping compound. Of course, it had to go everywhere for me. Very nice. I don't think we want it up in there. We'll try putting it on the valve instead. Now, as with everything, they make a special tool for this, but we're not going to use that special tool today. Okay, now we got the valve pretty much where it needs to be. Now this is where it gets unconventional. Put that valve down. Head on the side here. I'm going to take my drill. I'm going to grab the end of that valve. Clean it off here and see how it looks. It has certainly freshened up that edge. It's looking pretty good, but I think we're gonna go again. And that wraps up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for part 5. We got new episodes of this series coming out every Friday and every Sunday. If you liked this video, found it entertaining or informative, please leave me a like. If you didn't like it, leave me a dislike. I can still see them. But otherwise, please subscribe to the channel if you like this content. I'm going to be putting out a lot more. And be grateful for everything. Be good to yourself and be good to each other, because this world is getting really messed up. We never know what day is going to be our last. So be grateful for every day. And hey, we'll see you in the next